Oh my god, Alexis!
I was gonna go, oh my gosh!
So we both done it. The last time we spoke was in person.
Like, real human, like, touch one another face to face, hugs, whole 9 yards, like, actually talk to one another, and it was so amazing.
Yeah, we had fully talked about trying to record. Like, we had all of our stuff with us.
Oh yeah, Kaylee lugged it through an airport. I drove it 2.5 hours north to so that we could potentially record a face-to-face episode. But
yeah, and we were just much happier hanging out.
Yes.
So that didn't happen. But we also had our Lassiter and our Jules with us, so it was like a full cast meetup. It was amazing.
It was fantastic. Yeah. I'm happy that we were just like, you know what? Let's not try to do this. Let's just enjoy our time. But like, for real, do you realize that we sat at that table and talked for
8 hours?
Yeah. Yeah, like it didn't stop.
No.
We just sat and talked. There were no lags. Like, I had packed all these games. I thought we might need some stuff to fill the Nope.
No, there were plenty of snacks, though, because we are fans of delicious flavor.
Of course. Although we did not have any tres leches or nachos cuatros quesos.
Nope.
Although...
But we did have a pineapple.
We did.
I brought a pineapple. There was a pineapple there on the scene.
It was super nice to, like, just hang out, but we didn't record, so that's what we're going to do now.
Yeah, it's showtime.
This is...
To the Blueberry!
I'm Alexis, and I am a real-life Gus.
I'm Kaylee, and I'm a real-life Shawn.
As Kaylee said earlier, we are a real-life best friend duo who decided to start a podcast, so we had a great reason to talk to one another once a week. And it's amazing.
It is amazing.
If you're not listening to our podcast, you should be. Now, I know you would only hear that if you're listening to our podcast, so I said it on purpose.
And my father-in-law fully listens to our podcast on YouTube.
Does he?
Yeah.
You had kind of said it, he might be.
Yeah. He passed the message along to my significant other. He said, "Tell Kaylee I went to the Blueberry." And then when I saw him in person, he goes, "Yeah, I go to the Blueberry sometimes."
He must be one of our 7 subscribers.
That's what I said. Oh, that's so exciting, though.
That's wonderful. Well, this week's episode is Season 3, Episode 10, 6 Feet Under the Sea. Under the sea.
So I counted this as 2 pop culture references in one.
It's a nice blend.
6 Feet Under and Under the Sea. As we so often do, we start our episode with a flashback to 1987.
They are on, Little Baby Shawn and Little Baby Gus are on a field trip to what Kaylee and I officially have decided is the aquarium.
And there's a whole mess of kids outside the bus, and there's a lady with a clipboard going, "Yes, we're going to go to the touch pool and then the dolphin show and stay with your buddy." She looks overwhelmed. There's not another adult in sight. I was like, she's gonna lose children. Pan 2.
There wasn't another adult in sight because Henry was feeling sick that day and could not chaperone. So Gus and Shawn used that as a fate and stayed behind in the bus so that they could feed and ride a dolphin.
It has been a year of planning for this moment. And Gus thinks we should wait, and Shawn thinks we have to go now because we've only got 10 minutes to find and feed and ride a dolphin. It is his life stream.
They're running, they're getting ready to go, and then Henry pops out. Full uniform. He said, "You're not very thorough."
And Shawn says, "How did you know?"
Maybe it was the snorkel in your backpack?
Or this. And it's a full map that shows the route that the boys were going to take to do what they had to do.
Oh, the map ends with the dolphin exhibit with a little stick figure of someone riding it. I was just like, that's genius.
Henry's like, "You're really going to have to learn to be better at deception."
You want me to lie to you?
No, I want you to make it more of a challenge for me to catch you Because I always will.
Because I always will.
I just want to point out that at one point, little baby Gus had said, "I don't want to miss the otters."
I love that "cause I always will" line because of something that happens later. Where I'm going to make an argument that maybe Henry's a little bit psychic.
Oh, snap. He gets it honest.
Yep, I'm doing it. Okay, so, we are in the present day. Thank you. I didn't know what PD stood for there for a second.
The blueberry shows up all rain-streaked, and that's weird because we're in California. But we're not real clear on where we are for a beat. And Shawn...
But we definitely are not at a burglary ring at a child's finishing school.
Yeah, did it say gentleman's finishing school?
Oh, it might be gentleman's, yeah.
And Gus is like, "Listen, I need you to do me this favor."
Shawn's like, "I can only avoid so many things at one time, and I'm already avoiding my dad because he got a new boat and he wants to take me fishing.
And he wants me to kill these poor, defenseless, innocent fish." And Gus is like, "We're at a funeral." Sad face.
And Shawn hates funerals for a number of reasons, including because 6 times out of 10 there's a snake in the casket.
I might be persuaded to go to more funerals if there were snakes in the casket more times than I've seen. I'm with him on the others. It's depressing. You have to listen to organ music. Yeah.
Well, Gus just needs support.
Yeah, he needs somebody to support him, and Shawn says, "Who is the funeral for?"
Gus shuts his mouth and starts to walk away.
And Shawn says, like, "What's up with this aquatic theme I'm seeing? Like, who died? Jacques Cousteau?"
Oh no, Shawn said, "Did Jack Cousteau die?"
And Gus corrects him. It's Jacques Cousteau, and he died in 1995.
Gus is full of so much information.
So much.
Shawn's like looking at these pictures, and he's trying to guess who was the one who died.
What are the boat people? Is it the old guy? I mean, if anybody looks like he was not long for this world. And the old guy leans around Gus.
Dude sitting next to them. And Shawn said, "You know the camera adds 10 years.
That's 10 pounds.
And why did they not say I've heard it both ways?"
I know!
There was another opportunity for an "I've heard it both ways" in this episode.
He just aggressively shushes Gus. Anyway.
Until he realizes that the funeral is for a sea lion.
It's Shabby.
Shabby, the local hero and heartwarming story.
Yeah, so we're getting this eulogy by this guy whose face you know. In this show, he is Randy LaBeta of Animal Planet. But in real life, he's Ted McGinley, and you know him from Happy Days, and The Love Boat, and Dynasty, and Married with Children, and The West Wing, and Revenge of the Nerds, #1. Also, I think maybe #4, but who's counting?
I definitely tagged him from Married with Children. That is where I, immediately recognized him for, but as you were listing those off, I was like, oh, yeah.
And, lest we forget, Mr. Dule Hill was also in The West Wing.
Yes.
So that's fun. It turns out that Shabby had recently been released back to the wild. I think it was something like 3 days ago, and he was found dead, and it's very tragic, and everybody's sad.
Randy was the last one to see him alive, and they're like, okay, I guess it's time to pay our respects. And it's an open casket.
Shawn can't believe it.
Oh, do you have Shawn and Gus's
back and forth
last words here?
I don't, but I can look up.
Okay.
If you need me to.
No, it's okay. Gus said, "Shabby, you almost made it. But you touched our hearts and our souls. Be free swimming in the ocean of heaven where there are no natural predators." And Shawn said, "Shabby buddy, you lived a full life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You probably balanced a beach ball on your nose at some point, maybe honked a horn with your mouth, barked the melody of Grand Old Flag. Clearly you ate very well." And then he kind of stops.
And he zeroes in on this very strange wound.
Oh no. I think this sea lion was murdered.
Dun dun dun. And that's our credits, right?
Yeah. I feel very connected to Shawn in this particular scene because I'm very weird at funerals. They don't bother me, but I get awkward at them, especially when I have to go talk to a dead body. I may or may not have plucked a hair off of a sweater from the last funeral I went to.
I've never been to a funeral. I've
What?
I've only been to viewings, and I'm weird at them. And that's why I never want to go to a funeral or another viewing if not absolutely necessary. I'm terrible at them. I'm very inappropriate. I can't stop crying because the people around me that are holding it all together, that should be bawling, that should be falling apart in a wreck, I'm doing that for them. And it's very inappropriate. Yep. And when they start comforting me, I know it's time I left. So,
You're a sympathetic crier, just like us.
I can't do it. But I feel like the funeral part might actually be easier than the viewings, so maybe I should, like, opt out of the one for the other? No? Okay.
I mean, everybody's crying at the funeral part, but...
Isn't there less...
Depending on what kind of funeral you go to, there's a whole lot of, like, here, let me tell you my favorite memory of this person.
I love those.
It gets super emotional.
I was present for, like, everything but, like, the funeral situation for my aunt. And so I did get to enjoy the family time of picking out the photos and music and things to remember her by. And that was, like, a lot better than just, like, being around the place she no longer was. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the right, I don't know. I don't know how to do it.
Shawn obviously doesn't because they're about to get kicked out of this funeral.
Or so they think, because a lady comes up to them and says, I need to see you.
Gus is super freaking out and he becomes all Gus about it. And he starts quoting off his credentials as to why he's allowed to be there.
I don't have any of these, but when he was listing the places they've been kicked out of, when he thought they were getting kicked out of the funeral, he was like, PetSmart, Santa's Village, the Salvation Army. And Shawn says, whoa, you were dishonorably discharged.
The woman does not want to kick them out of the funeral. She wants to know why Shawn said that she thought it was a murder, because there's a lot of shady stuff that's going on in the aquarium right now. But we can't talk here. We need to go someplace else.
So we end up at the psych office, and Gus is cleaning, and Shawn is like, why?
Because it's not very often that a beautiful aquatic lady comes to the office. Plus, I call her.
You call her?
Shawn was like, you can't do that, because I already called her at the funeral.
She touched me, Gus. That's because you ran into her.
Only because you bumped into her. Contact is contact.
And Gus says, okay, fine, get ready for battle.
Okay, I'll back off. You can have her, buddy, says Shawn.
We've had this conversation before. You think I can't get a girl if you don't back off.
So Gus decides that he'll back off.
And then the lady is like, back off of what? Because she's just walked in.
So that lady, Kaylee, what is her name? Because she's our other guest star.
She's our other guest star. You'll recognize her from things like 2.5 Men, and I think she was in an episode of Big Bang Theory, actually. Hold on, I've got her name right. Brooke Dorsey, D'Orsay. She's got a little God's comma in there. It's like a D apostrophe. She's also been in Royal Pains, Drop Dead Diva. Also a lot of Hallmark shows up.
She was the alive version of Drop Dead Diva.
Oh yeah.
No. She was the dead version in Drop Dead Diva. That was a good series. I flagged her from a lot of, like, Hallmark-type Christmas movies. That's kind of where I know her from. But, yeah, now that you've said all that again, like, she's got a really long credit. Although, in the opening credits, they only listed Tim McGinley as their main guest star. So, I think she got a little bit of slack here, but she doesn't deserve it. Okay, sorry. I went on a little bit of a tangent there.
It's all good. Let's see. Oh, so... She basically tells them that she was in charge of Shabby's rehab, and a lot of weird stuff kept happening around that. She said...
They moved up the release date 6 days because Randy needed to be in charge of it.
Yeah, and it was, like, going to be this big press release. He needed to be, like, on display. And then she was, like... really upset by it, and the boys are kind of like pushing her to say more, and she's like, well, it was way too soon, first of all. And then there's like a lot of awkward touching and a lot of sports bragging between the guys trying to like make a move. It's awkward. I don't like it.
They're both trying to hit on her. She isn't taking it.
Yeah, it's not coming off great. It's not like it feels forced, and she's feeling it.
Yeah.
So she says that at the time of the actual release, no aquarium staff at all was allowed to be present. Shawn goes in to comfort her, and Gus slaps him. And she's, like, being jostled by this, and she's just, like, clearly weirded out. I was like, you guys.
Long story short, they came back. Everyone looked upset. They locked up the ship's log in Randy's office. And there was really nothing else said about it. Well, Shawn wants to see that office.
And she goes, ooh, I can help you with that. He goes, house.
Tonight!
Yeah. This is where we finally get her name in the show, or where I first heard it. I wrote it down. Her name is April.
I didn't catch it till significantly later on, so Kaylee beats me here. At the aquarium, it is nighttime. The boys are walking up to meet April, and Gus is like, are you wearing sweatpants? Are you dressing up for her?
Are you dressing up for her? So, first of all, I wrote sneak as soon as I saw the boys in the dark. And then we find out that these are Shawn's sneaking around pants. And he's also wearing this green jacket. And Gus is like, that is my green jacket. He's like, yeah, it's seasonable. It's, in case of rain or whatever. And Gus is like, no, that jacket's for players only.
They get to a rock wall. There she is. She's like, all right, I'm going to get you in. And she leans over in like a bottom of the pyramid cheerleader stance. And she's like, I'll give you a boost. The electric fence is broken right here.
Unless they fixed it.
We find out that she no longer works at the aquarium. Somebody on Randy's team had her canned.
On Tuesday for asking too many questions.
Gus, again, is trying to look cool, and he said, no big deal. I could probably jump it if the ground wasn't so wet.
I could vault that, Shawn.
Where would you land? This was the back and forth that I was talking about earlier.
So she says, if you get over, there's a door right here on the other side. It'll lead you straight towards LeBeta's office, and the code is 1842. Shawn is like, yeah, and if we fail at this, we go to jail. And
she's like, okay with it.
She's like, uh-huh. So who's first? And Gus strolls up like, I got this. I love it when he's putting on a show for somebody and it just makes him like capable Guster.
We catch the boys inside the office. They're talking about how April is legit, and she's also very strong for a woman her size.
So at this point, if you look at any pictures of this woman, her arms are always shredded. Like
she's jacked.
She's jacked.
They walk in, and this is the coolest office ever because it has a freaking dolphin wall.
A dolphin wall. And
like not a wall designed or covered in like pictures of dolphins.
No, it's to the dolphin tank.
It's legit.
So Gus is the only one talking to the dolphins and trying to get their attention through this wall. Shawn, I will say, Shawn in this episode plays it remarkably cool most of the time. But we'll find out more about his intense, not dead childhood dream later. So we find these documents that look like they're related to the release of Shabby. LeBeta has 2 laptops, is what I wrote.
And one of them is only a GPS for something. There's nothing else on that computer, and it's currently not picking up any signal.
So Shawn sort of psych out, zeroes in on the coordinates, most particularly the last coordinate on the list of this GPS tracking software.
And Gus does find the boat logs, and they realize that Shabby was released in the wrong place.
Yeah, and importantly, not close to San Miguel, where he was slated to be released.
But then they hear something, and they're like, okay, let's go. Shoot, shoot, shoot.
Oh, there was a newspaper clipping that we highlighted here that comes back up later that just says, Feds probe Rocinante escape. And then, so the boys are like, I gotta go. And then Shawn's like, there's just one thing more. I have unfinished business here.
And a date with destiny.
And he runs off. He tears away his pants, and he's wearing trunks under them. They were tearaway pants. I'm very impressed.
I wrote, like, space music. There was, like, this exciting, like, music playing. Yeah. And Shawn is like, I got this. I'm going to go feed and ride the dolphins. He is hoping for a harness or a little saddle of some sort.
So I just keep writing, it's my shorthand where someone is like, Shawn, no! And Shawn is like, Shawn, yes! And runs away. So Shawn goes up top, and Gus is yelling at him pretty loudly, and then he sees the flashlight of the guard, so he's forced to follow up. We don't know where he ends up, because he disappears for a little while.
But Shawn gets to the top, and then he also sees the security guard, and he has to hide from the security guard. There's, like, spy music playing, and he ends up hiding in this, like, lawn box? I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, I just wrote trunk.
Yeah.
The security guard walks by, Shawn pops out, and then he sees a trunk that actually has Shabby's name on it, so he opens it up, and he just keeps pulling out, I don't know, mackerel, herring, small fish, small treat fish.
Yeah.
And then we get some dolphin noises.
And full dolphin that Shawn says to it, get out of here. Pa does not love Fa. Stop doing that. Pa does not love Fa. That is a reference to something, and I have no idea what it is.
I looked it up. It is a 1973 movie, some people think the worst movie ever made, called Day of the Dolphin, about about dolphins and a researcher who is learning to communicate with the dolphins through speaking English and dolphin-like noises. It sounds real dumb, but then the dolphins get kidnapped by people who want to further train them to assassinate the president by magnetically setting a bomb on his yacht. And they rescue the dolphins, but then the people are going to take them back to the lab, and then the guy who trained them, I forget his name, the guy who trained them is letting them escape rather than being taken back to the lab, and I guess he was Pa, and the principal male dolphin's name was Alpha, Fa for short, and he and the lady dolphin B, or Beta for, long form. So Pa loves Pa, or Pa loves Fa was a thing, and then I think when he was trying to shoo him away and he had to be a little bit forceful because the dolphin didn't want to leave, I think Pa does not love Fa was probably part of that. I haven't seen the movie. I don't really want to see the movie, so.
That was a heck of a recap for a movie you've never seen.
Wikipedia.
I just got to give it to you. There you go. All right, Shawn's got the herring, and it's time to feed that dolphin. If he can't ride it, he's gonna feed it.
Not so fast, because Gus is back, and then they have a fight about how he was about to feed the dolphin, and why does he get to feed the dolphin? And they put that fish down, they gotta get out of here.
And then they get caught.
Yeah, I just wrote guard. Caught. We're at SBPD, and Chief walks in all flashy, but in jeans, and I was like, she looks fancy, but there's jeans, so it's kind of casual. It's off work clothes. And Shawn says, is that a backstage pass?
Chief Vic is seeing Phil Collins. This is the second time that Chief Vic has shared her love of Phil Collins.
Was it Chief who did it, or was it... Okay, so Shawn brought it up in the other episode, and then Chief somehow knew that he lives in Switzerland.
Yep.
Okay, I follow. Gus also points out that she's wearing a Dolce jacket. So, points to Gus for doing fashion still.
They apparently caught Shawn with a How to Ride a Dolphin pamphlet.
She is so mad. I love Mad Chief.
Enter Juliet and April. This is where I got April's name.
Ah, okay. So Shawn's trying to tell Chief that there's more to it, and it's slightly sexy, and there's some involved things. Jules and April walk in. They're gal pals, it's very clear.
They, compliment each other's earrings, and then April takes the blame. She's like, I told them that I still worked there. And Juliet said, yeah, she did it, but it was for a really good reason.
Maybe murder.
Because Juliet also loves Shabby. The Shabby Cam is her screensaver.
Chief is like, I just wrote Chief, help.
Chief is like, I do not want to know who Shabby is. Take care of it. And if I miss against all odds, somebody's getting fired. And she's going back to Phil Collins.
Yeah, she's, I forget where she said the concert was. Lassie walks in.
The bowl.
The bowl. Lassie walks in, putting on a blazer. He's late for the party. It's like, oh no, they released you guys already?
He wanted to see them. But he took him into interrogation anyway after they pointed out that they were solving a heinous crime.
He's like, oh sure, heinous. Wait, how heinous?
In interrogation, they will not give Lassiter the name of this murder that they're about to study, but Lassie needs a win.
Oh, he confides in them that he was chasing these diamond smugglers. He didn't know they were diamond smugglers until it was too late. By the way, we find that out later. He chased them all the way to the airport. They got away. Then Lassiter kind of stops himself and says, what does Rocinante mean to you? A full-bodied Syrah?
Syrah.
Is that a wine reference?
Sure.
Sure. I was like, it's either yoga or wine, and we've already had wine in this series, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Shawn says, a gay couple from Lisbon.
I don't understand that.
I don't understand it, but sure, maybe.
Oh, it was the name of the plane. Come on, guys. But they went off in a lightning storm, and Lassiter's SBPD helicopters don't fly in storms.
He really wants them to give the name of the person who may have been murdered. They finally give his name as Shabby, and he was like, is that his street name?
Nope, just Shabby.
And then they spell...
More like a given name.
He's like, last name? He's like, he doesn't have one. Don't play with me, Spencer.
Can I spell it for you?
Yes.
THESEALION.
Desilion. Is he French?
Give me a description. Black. 600 or 700 pounds.
Damn.
Can you exhume a body?
Only if I'm there for the autopsy.
They get to the coroner's office. Coroner's office? I'm gonna call it
I
coroner's
think
office.
this is the same guy we saw in the Holes episode.
We've seen him twice, at least twice now, but I just know him as not Woody.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, sorry, guy. Good for you getting the work, but you're not Woody, so I don't really care.
Yeah. Lassiter, the scene opens up to Lassiter saying, I'm gonna kill you, Spencer. Which is not our only I'm gonna kill you to Shawn in this episode.
So, let's see. First off, the weirdness starts with this weird empty pierced like area on the sea lion, and then he found some flat reef coral in the fur. Gus is very confused by this.
Because a sea lion is a precision animal that would not go around hitting the coral.
I think it knows how to get around coral without smacking into it.
He also found some fibers from what seems like a fishing net.
And Jules looks so sad because they decide it sounds like it's not foul play, like maybe he was just caught up in somebody's net and it was tragic. Her face looks like she really wants to cry when she walks out.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this.
They leave, and Shawn is a little bit worried that they might be right.
But he still wants to see the reef.
Because he has a plan.
Cut to the marina. And Henry is giving us lessons on how to drive his new boat.
Henry's pointing out all of the high-tech gear that he's going to need to drive, and Shawn goes, ooh, a little microwave.
Shawn's like, hey, can we maybe head out to the reef?
Because they're still on the dock.
Yeah, they're in the marina. And Henry informs us that those are restricted waters, and no. And then he's like, do you even want to know how to drive this boat? Do you even want, this whole tutorial, this time together session? And Shawn's like, yes, no, totally, absolutely I do. And Henry's like, all right, well, I gotta grab my tackle box. So he jumps off the boat real quick.
And Shawn speeds away.
Henry's like, Shawn, no! And Shawn's like, Shawn, yes.
And Gus is like, he's gonna try to catch us.
He can't swim that fast.
Shawn said, he wanted us to take the boat. Didn't you catch that from the whole, I don't want to be responsible, I don't want to lose my license, let me teach you how to drive?
Yeah, Gus did not get that at all. They end up lost at sea.
What a surprise. And Shawn is, reading this map that he thinks should be helping him navigate across the sea, but it's a Thompson map. It's a land map. It's a little land heavy.
And Gus keeps pointing out, like, they're lost, they don't know where they are, and Shawn says, Gus, don't be exactly 1/2 of an 11-pound Black Forest ham.
They're looking at the little blinking radar on the, I don't know, console, if you will. And Gus is like, dude, that's longitude and latitude. You can follow the degrees and the numbers with the little quotation marks and figure out where you're going. And he's like, okay, cool. And he psychs back to when they were looking at that second laptop and those numbers that he kind of took in then.
Yeah, they were nonsense, but he still memorized them, and so he's directing Gus what to put in so that they can direct themselves to this location. And then they get right up close to there, but Gus is like, I think I see another light from a boat way in the distance. Cut the lights, cut the lights.
Gus is worried that they're going to get arrested. He cannot get arrested twice in one day.
I think it was 1 week, right? He keeps saying 1 week.
Oh.
Like, throughout this episode, that's like a big deal to him. Getting arrested more than once in a week is just too much.
In the darkness, Shawn thinks he hears something. Did you hear something? Like voices?
All of a sudden, there's lights!
And they scream like little girls.
And I just wrote creepy men.
Gus?
And Gus keeps going, Take him! I've had this dream, Shawn! The dead calm dreams! You need to take one for the team!
The guys are creepy, but, like, nice enough, and they're like, hey, this is restricted water. What are you doing out here? Shawn introduces himself as Shawn Spencer, and this is my first mate, Hummingbird Saltilomachia.
Yeah.
Saltilomachia?
Yeah. The boys are like, yeah, we didn't know this was a restricted area until, like, right this second. That's so weird. That's terrible. What are you guys doing out here?
I can't help but notice that you're not the Coast Guard. They say that they have been drifting for about an hour because they stalled out on their way to Monterey.
And Shawn's thinking Mexico, but Monterey, Mexico is inland by about 200 miles.
Up north, man.
So...
Oh, Shawn and Gus here. Shawn's like, oh, hey, we turned off our lights because we're hiding from the sharks.
That's not even remotely how sharks work.
We heard there was an infestation of genetically modified shark-like beasts. They can hear the light. They also type. Not well. But they are sharks.
So it's still impressive. The guys are just, like, gobsmacked by our gentleman, and...
The shenanigans.
I don't know how it ends, because the boys are heading back into the marina. They're not towing anyone, so apparently they just leave these guys to, quote, wait for the Coast Guard out there.
Yeah, Shawn asks about the Coast Guard again, and then they kind of are like, okay, we're not dealing with this anymore, bye. So Shawn's like, there is something wrong with these guys. I can feel it. And he looks up.
Psychic.
And it's Henry, Lassiter, and Juliet standing on the dock.
And again, Gus is like, I'm going to be arrested twice in 1 week.
Shawn gets up, and he's like, Dad, you told me to take the boat. What's going on? And Henry said, I didn't call them, Shawn. They called me. The coroner found 222 slugs in Shabby.
It was murder.
Bum, bum, bum. Music happens.
We get back to the SBPD, and first thing we see / hear is LaBeta in the interrogation room, and he's going, do I, like, need a lawyer? He's being very, like, he's such a himbo. He's, like, really large and buff, and he seems kind of stupid and pretty, and he's not a himbo, though, because he doesn't have a heart of gold, and that is a prerequisite for a himbo. The guy is sitting there with an owl on his shoulder, and Lassiter is very disconcerted by this. Jules walks in and says, there's a call for you, Lassiter. It's the FBI. And he was like, oh, again? God, Jules, can you just tell them, like, I didn't know they were drug smugglers until it was too late. And also, and Jules is like, maybe tell them yourself. Because, dude, she's not your messenger. So then LaBeta sees April sort of lurking in the hallway. He's like, didn't someone fire her?
Oh, was she your inside source?
Jules says, no, the court is my source. As in, this court-ordered search that found the tracking GPS in your office. Care to explain that, Mr. LaBeta?
April's like, we do not tag our animals.
And the beta's like, yes, fine, okay, I was gonna track him, but it was just such a heartwarming story. Like, how could I pass this up?
Well, then why did you release him so many miles, 6 miles away from where he was supposed to go?
I think I'm gonna need to make my phone call now.
When he decides to make his phone call, the first thing he said is burn the discs. And he tells this guy to
everything.
get out of town.
Yeah, destroy all of the footage, take a long vacation to Mexico, just drop it and go. And he's like, I can't. Your 2 hair analysts are in there you're reviewing the footage right now.
What's a hair analyst?
I don't have a hair analyst. Who set that up? And then he's like, oh, crap.
The guy just goes running. Shawn and Gus are in this room, and they're watching the footage.
So it turns out that, he's an egomaniac. He only cared about how he looked in the footage. He did say, cut immediately if even a hair of mine comes out of place. And that includes chest hair.
He's, trying to record, and this freighter comes in the background, so he starts yelling at the boat, calling it an atmosphere killer or something like that. And so they end up moving to a new location. And when they're there, Randy goes, I don't like it. I just want it for the record that I don't like this.
So it looks like they only moved from the original release spot to get a better shot of Randy. So the release happened. The sea lion was alive. They said goodbye to him. They were being stupid. And then there was that MAR boat passing by in the background.
That footage was from 5 days ago. And that's how they realized that MAR boat wasn't drifting out to sea on their way to Monorail. There's something else going on. And then someone starts pounding on the door.
And they're like, man, what's at that reef? So yeah, the assistant's at the door. He's banging really hard. He's like, you guys gotta get out of there. And Shawn looks at Gus and says, do you want to do plan A or B?
B.
So the assistant breaks down the door, and Shawn, covering his mouth, looking distraught, goes, oh my god, I killed him!
Gus is laying limp over a chair.
And Shawn just runs away.
And then as soon as the guy gets a little bit distracted, Gus runs away.
Oh my god, it's the funniest moment in the entire episode.
Yeah, that is a laugh out loud moment.
I cackled both times. I could not handle it.
I want to know what plan A was.
I know. I want to know all of their plans. I want to know all of their little bits. I want to know all of their pickup moves because they have really fun names.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are going to go steal the boat again so that they can go check out this Mar boat.
Yeah, we're back at the marina, and Shawn is like, I'm telling you, Gus, he wants me to steal the boat.
As soon as they get up to the boat, there's Henry, and he goes, do I, Shawn?
He is wearing what I will call forever an Alexis shirt. I'm convinced that in high school, you may have had this exact shirt at one point.
So it's worth pointing out that I wore a lot of Hawaiian shirts when I was in high school because I thought I was really cool. No, because I was a big old dweeb and they were very comfortable.
You were very cool. You were freaking Magnum PI or something.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So, yeah, that makes sense. And I love Henry's shirt. Actually, I love all of Henry's shirts, but yeah.
So, then we flash back to Jules and April. They're it looks like they're in an interrogation room, but they're just chilling, and they are snacks on the table, and they're just complimenting each other on how much they scared the beta and how good a job they're both doing. And April is like, so what about Shawn?
What about Shawn?
Well, he's just so different. It's really refreshing. He's odd. I was thinking of letting it be known that I'm, available and everything. I kind of wanted your opinion.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's real awkward. Juliet literally just says, ... I don't know. I don't know.
And then starts drinking her Minute Maid juice out of a straw.
So we're back at the marina, and we see the MAR boat come in, and the guys are lugging stuff off of it, heading down, inland on the dock. And Shawn starts trying to run towards the boat, and Gus won't let him.
And his getaway plan is to scream, "Look, Barnacle Bill!"
And then he runs for the boat because Gus is convinced they need to follow the guys, and Shawn is convinced they just need to take this opportunity to get on the boat. So he goes for the boat.
And yet he still pauses to go, "You want to be Hawkeye or Crow's Nest?"
What do either of those things even mean?
I thought you might know.
Because they sound like the same thing to me. It's like, who's keeping lookout, right?
Yeah. There is all this high-tech stuff on the boat.
High-tech gear, just so much of it. And Gus tells us what all of it is. He says there's a GPS, there's radar, there's sonar, there's an electric pulse sensor.
Whatever they're doing, they didn't want to be found, and they were doing it at night, because there were all these flashlights.
And then Shawn finds this, like, green netting, and he's like, ooh, fishing net. And then he finds a tracking tag tangled up in the net.
They're ready to, like, get it out, and Gus goes, "Here, let me do it. I was a Navy Scout."
And then they get it out, and Shawn sees bullet holes on the deck, and he just goes, they did it. They killed Shabby.
But they're coming back, because Thug Guy number 1 thinks that he heard something, or thinks that he saw the boat moving, and thinks someone's there. Shawn's hiding ideas are to hold on to the anchor and see if there's a shark cage.
Yeah, jump overboard. No, they'll see us. So they finally look down, and there's like a little latch, like there's like a storage area under the hull. So they get down in there, and it's very close quarters. And Shawn says, this is just like out of sight. And they're hiding from the bad guys.
The guys hear Shawn whispering, or one of the guys hears Shawn whispering, and he's like, "Dude, I think there's someone here." And then the other guy's like, "You're being paranoid, don't worry." Shawn grabs a flashlight that he finds in the hall, and he starts snuggling Gus a little bit more so that he can see what's going on.
Okay. If any two female best friends, like lifelong best friends, were in this situation, the cuddling would not at all be an issue. And if these were two non-American men, it would probably also not be an issue. But because this is an American show and these are American guys, sadly, this is something I could actually see happening, depending on the friends.
Gus keeps telling Shawn to get off of him, but Shawn found the flight plan for the Rocinante. I don't know what it's called. Rocinante.
Okay, Shawn. It's Rocinante.
Okay. Very good. And then goes, "Dude, I solved it!"
And he's like, "Oh, maybe I can call Jules." And Gus is like, "Are you crazy? You can't call her." He goes, "Well, maybe a text." And then Gus is like, "Well, you have to mute your keys." And he's like,
"Do that."
All right, yeah. How does that get done? So Jules at the SBPD gets a text, and it's like full exposition. Like, they're trapped in the hull of a smuggler's boat, and they think they're going out to sea.
Before he sends the text, they hear the engine start. And Gus goes, "I'm gonna kill you, Shawn." Versus, "I'm going to murder you, Spencer."
So, flashback to our guys, and Shawn's like, "Man, I feel so Clooney right now." And that makes Gus very angry.
Because he's Jennifer Lopez in that situation.
Apparently this is still out of sight that we're doing.
But then Shawn goes, "That's a huge compliment. Did you see El Cantante? She was amazing."
Because Gus did not think of it as a compliment. So they're trying to figure out how to let Jules know how to find them if they go out to sea on this boat. And they're like, "Oh, duh, Shabby's tracker." So they turn that on, and then they tell them to get the laptop of Lebeda's so they can be tracked.
And then Shawn asks Gus to scratch his leg.
Gus will not do this.
"I'm not scratching your leg, Shawn." Chief Vic and Juliet notice the location. Chief Vic has her sister from the Coast Guard on standby to go rescue them.
Oh, I missed that part. I'm just focused in on the map because it's weird. They're like, it's a little land heavy. And it's like, it says they're on First and Main. So she texts Shawn, and it says that the boys aren't where they might think they are, and maybe they should check outside.
They are on their way into a Gold Seal canned sockeye factory. That sounds disgusting. The guys, our boys are climbing out of the boat, and the thug guys see them. And Shawn screams, "Wait a second. This is not my boat. My bad. Gus, I told you. Our boat is called Just Chillin'. Just Chillin'." we're sorry. We'll be on our way.
Okay. That's a really good boat name.
Oh, yeah.
I often play this game with people because I do not foresee myself ever owning a boat, even if I had the money. That's like throwing the money in the ocean.
Yeah.
But I do like to come up with boat names. What would your boat name be?
I have never thought about that before.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll come back to it. But Just Chillin' is a contender.
I'd support that. I would go on Just Chillin' with you.
Yeah, that would be fun.
The thugs pull out guns.
Oh, yeah. And then Shawn tells them that he is in fact psychic. And they're like, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? And he starts to psych out about what actually happened. He's like, I know all about it. You killed poor Shabby. They're like, this is all about a sea lion? And he's like, you were out there doing some shady stuff on the reef, and you had all that high-tech equipment, and he was wearing a tracker, and you must have mistaken him for a diver or a boat or something, and you shot into the water, and then you tried to haul him up, and he got free because he was a survivor. And they all have like this like intense emotional moment about it. I was like, at least for a little while, he was a survivor. But Shabby left something behind. And you were out there looking for the crash of the Rocinante, which everyone thought had escaped, but it actually went down in restricted waters.
After he pulls out the tracker, he goes, I have been doing something I like to call stalling, and Rutger Hauer calls stalling.
And the guy's like, what? Why? And Gus goes, because he's Dutch. And he goes, no, why have you been stalling?
Because of this. And out comes the entire brigade.
Like SBPD on the scene. Lassie front and center. I'm sorry. I just love it when he's in like intense Lassie mode. It's a beautiful moment. Like gun drawn. So tough.
I kind of like vulnerable Lassie better. Like Lassie at the beginning of this episode where he was like, you know, or no tie, like trying to get help from the boys.
I like them both, yes.
So I'm gonna like the next episode. I'm aware of that. The boys fist bump, and they tell Lassie that he can find the diamonds on the boat.
Well, after Lassie says, had to save your neck again, Spencer. And he's like you said, Lassie, it's a two-way street. I think you'll find what you're looking for in the truck, and the diamonds, maybe on the boat.
Wait. How did you...
A little bit of this, hand to the temple, and a whole lot of this, hand to the temple.
And his face is so cringy. I don't know
Shawn?
if you looked at it. Yeah, he was like... it was so bad.
I don't even know how to describe it.
It was
what
bad.
you just did.
Go look at the episode. I probably didn't do it right, but that's how I interpreted it. Internally.
It's a very intense, like, butthole mouth thing that you did.
It's just bad. It's bad.
Oh, okay. So, our final scene. We're in the psych office, and Shawn is whipped creaming the inside of Gus's desk drawers? Is that what we saw?
That's exactly what's happening. I have no idea why.
So, yeah. So, April knocks, and he's
like... Oh, and Shawn says he's doing paperwork.
Yes, I just had some paperwork to finish up. And she is like, listen, she's wearing the aquarium uniform. She started back to work today. Very exciting.
They offered her Randy's office, and she said no.
And that's the worst decision in the history of human decision-making.
You know that's right.
So she says, and I asked about that writing of the dolphins thing, and... It's not really a thing they let anybody do, but we can arrange an encounter. That'd be super easy.
No, I want to do it when it's natural and in the wild.
It'll happen organically. And she's like, that's super illegal. And he's like...
What if it was a whale?
Like the same thing, but with a whale? And she's like, oh, you're joking. Got it. And he super was not. His face is like, yes, of course I was joking.
She said, well, if there's ever anything else I can do.
Because she thinks Shawn is amazing. And then he asks her out.
And specifically to dinner at a very dark restaurant, although he might bring some candles in case it's too dark. She says no.
Well, she says she would love to, and he says sweet, and she goes, but I don't want to get in the way. And he's like, what is happening right now? And she goes, listen, I like her, and I think you two will get there.
She's walking out. Thanks for everything. Good luck, Shawn.
And he's just confused.
We all know that she's talking about Juliet.
Yeah.
And I think he knows that she's talking about Juliet.
Oh my god. I forgot that they laid it on this thick.
They are.
This season is coming to a close so fast. We only have 6 episodes left.
I was looking at that today. We're close to a pretty big deal.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta go back to my Henry might be a psychic thing.
Do it.
Shawn was going to steal Henry's boat again, but Henry was already on the boat stopping it the second time because he'll always get him, like he said in the opening scene.
Shawn said he's pretty sure he'd been waiting on that boat since Thursday.
So maybe that happened, or maybe Henry's a little bit psychic.
Yeah, listen, when your intuition is that on point, I feel like maybe it's not just intuition.
I was about to say, when does it stop being intuition and start becoming something else? I have maybe 2 really good stories like that. One of them was a while ago, and I was like, somebody's having a baby.
Oh, I remember.
And so I actually texted you guys. Yeah, I was like, hey, are one of you pregnant? Because I feel like someone's having a baby. And they were all like, all the tribe was like, no. Well, one of my other friends had been trying to get pregnant, and she was having a really, really, really hard time getting pregnant. And so I ended up meeting her for like coffee one night, and I walked in there and I was like, dude, I have to ask, I'm sorry, are you pregnant? And she said yes. And I just started bawling in the middle of this coffee shop. And I was like, girl, I knew somebody was pregnant. I didn't know who it was. And I went back and looked. And I texted you guys the day before she found out she was pregnant.
I love that.
Yeah. The other story I have is probably not at all intuition, and it's just hilarity, but like, we were at church one time, again, a few years ago, and I looked up on stage, and there was this guy up on stage, like, playing his guitar and singing, and you could just tell that this guy, like, loved Jesus, and he loved what he was doing, and I looked over to my friend, and I was like, hey, you need that guy. Figure out who that guy is. I like him. You need to find that guy. They're married.
Ooh.
I claim that I have everything to do with their relationship, but I found out a little bit later that their preacher actually stuck them together on purpose. Our preacher actually stuck them together on purpose because he also thought there was something there.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes it's just so clear. The only thing I can personally say I have experienced is mostly just with my younger sibling. There have been times where like our mind meld is like too much. Like, I will be thinking something. I'll be thinking it very, very hard. And it'll be like a question or something, or I'm just like meditating on something, and he will answer me. And I have not said a thing out loud. It's
you and your brother, though, are not twins, but you also kind of are.
Yeah. It's really weird. Like, that's happened quite a few times in our lives. And then you get those usual things where it's like you call someone and they were like, oh my, I was about to call you, that sort of thing. But I feel like that's pretty common. The answering me when I didn't ask the question out loud thing got me a few times, though. Because he would insist that I said something and I would scream, no, I didn't.
This is a good episode. That's a fun way to end it. I liked kind of everything about this episode. The story was fun. The guest stars were funny. We got a little bit of ocean action. We got some callbacks to Chief Vick's sister and Phil Collins. We did not get a pineapple.
We did not get a buzz.
And both of those things are disappointing.
Yes. We also didn't get a I've heard it both ways.
Although there absolutely should have been at least one, if not 2.
Yeah. What was the second one?
I don't remember now. I didn't put it in my notes, apparently.
Oh, maybe it was... So, Shawn got the name of the Rocinante wrong.
That's
very
exactly
wrong.
What it is.
That should have been a win. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and we know it exists in the universe already, but, yeah, just not this episode with the I've heard it both ways.
Will happen again. Until then, I am Alexis. Okay, Dad, we have to come up with a system for unspoken actions.
And I'm Kaylee. Mr. LeBeta, would you remove that bird from your shoulder?
And this has been
To the Blueberry! Psych out.